It wasn't great against the USA. Here is my take on England's final group game against Wales. We are up to the final group game for England at the World Cup. Get commenting and liking with your views on how you see it going and what you want to see happen in terms of the approach. England are up at the top of Group B. They're going to qualify, basically, unless it's a 4-goal hammering at the hands of Wales. If England win, they definitely top the group. If England draw and Iran win, then Iran would top the group. If England draw and the USA win, it would need to be by 5 more goals than England score for the US to be top. If England lose, unless it is by those 4 goals, they'll still be above Wales on goal difference. So basically they can lose and top the group on goal difference if USA and Iran draw. Basically, England are extremely unlikely to not qualify from this situation. Wales have not been good. They are pretty much out and playing for pride. Maybe a send-off for Ramsey and Bale. Good second half, okay, against the USA in the first game, but very poor against Iran. So forgive me, I'm going to focus the rest of this video on England and their setup. I'm aware that the position in the group is good, as we've just been through, but what I saw against the USA, I didn't like a lot of it. England's back 4 plus Declan Rice had 432 touches, and the front 4 had 146. Now, with those 432 touches, the pass completion, Maguire 87%, Rice and Bellingham up at 91%, Stones 97%. What this is telling us is that the majority of time England had the ball, it was amongst those back 4. The front 4 barely got any touches, yet the back 4 and that holding midfielder Rice have massively high pass completion. So basically, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to realise the team is not linking up between that back 7, so to speak, and the front 4. They were basically passing the ball to one another and not linking between defence, the double pivot, the 3 off the front, and poor old Harry Kane up on his Todd. We'll talk about selection in a minute, but remember, if you had Mbappe, Modric, Messi playing off Lewandowski up top, if that team is not linking and you are unable to get those players the ball, they will not be able to do anything. Let's go on to shape and selection then. And I don't think we're going to get the back 3. I've been fairly consistent with this, that we will see that probably, fingers crossed, assuming we get past a second phase game in a quarter-final, maybe against France. Look, that's for another day. So I think the only likely change is you'd see a slight tweak between what would be a real 4-2-3-1 and a 4-3-3, which I would prefer after those struggles in midfield against the USA. I don't foresee any changes in the back 4. Looking at what I was saying about using the ball better and linking the team up and maybe taking responsibility when on the ball and trying to make something happen, maybe Trent Alexander-Arnold over Trippier would be fun. Might solve a problem potentially, but seems very unlikely, doesn't it? Midfield, I wouldn't mind seeing an actual 3, and I don't care who the 3 are, so long as they're working together. I don't want to see Declan Rice here, Jude Bellingham kind of lost, and then Mason Mount way down the pitch. That really did not work, didn't it? And look, I try and avoid this scapegoat or saviour bollocks that we have to listen to in the kind of England dialogue. It looks like the scapegoat finger now has gone from Harry Maguire to Mason Mount. Look, let's try and have a sensible conversation about this. Mason Mount is very good at football. He's a very good player and he always follows the instructions that Gareth Southgate gives him. Was he any good against the USA? No, of course he wasn't. He was pretty well quiet, wasn't he? But hopefully, through those numbers I said earlier in the video, you can see that the entire front 4 were very quiet. They just weren't given the ball in any good positions. And that actually might not be their fault. It could be people not taking risks further back and having incredibly high pass completion and not really doing a hell of a lot with it. Anyway, you can give me your take on that in the comments. I'll give or take Mount, okay? We could take him out and it could be improved. We could keep him in and it could be improved. I just don't think it's worth obsessing over. What we are getting today is lots of rumours about Jordan Henderson playing. Now, I kind of understood Henderson coming on as I saw him getting ready in that previous game against the USA. I didn't understand him in and Bellingham out. I thought we were going to go and try and get a three-man midfield and free Bellingham up a little bit and put Henderson next to Rice, which I don't have a problem with. If we do get Henderson, Rice and Mount, I think that might cause a bit of a meltdown. But if it's two sitters, then that may be better than one sitter, and Bellingham was a little bit lost in that last game, wasn't he? Now, it could be two sitters, and one of our saviours, i.e. the player that's not in the team that the England fan base thinks putting them in will change everything and make the team way, way better. Everyone will be happy with that. Those saviours at the moment seem to be, number one is Phil Foden. Jack Grealish, he was the saviour in Euro 2020, wasn't he? Everyone wanted him in. And James Maddison was the saviour before the tournament started, basically. So, look, if it's any one of those three, I think the fan base will be happy. And honestly, without being facetious, I do think that would improve the team. I wouldn't have a problem with two sitters and one of those guys coming in as the 10. I would suggest Maddison is probably best suited if it is a central 10 and there's no rotation there going on. Let's assume that Harry Kane starts whatever system and is a central striker with players coming off him wide. Saka and Stirling, yes, I don't want to pile in on them because I don't think they got any service. I think I'm labouring that point now. But they were both very quiet, weren't they? And they were both subbed off. I think whether it's 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 doesn't make too much difference in those wide positions. We still need the same things from those players. Maybe we'll see one of Foden or Grealish start, but knowing Gareth Southgate, it won't be both of them. So we'll possibly get Foden and Stirling or Grealish and Saka. Let's see. So what I want to see, and probably most England fans watching, I want to see bravery on the ball. I want to see people prepared to stick that ball into central midfield, play a tricky pass around the corner and then move and make space. I don't care if our centre-backs have 90% pass completion, if it's between each other, out to the fullback, back inside, whilst the other team stood there in shape. That was so obviously the problem. And along with that comes a quicker tempo. Fine, if you're going to circulate that ball across the back, do it. Do it quickly. Move the other team around. Then you don't even have to be quite as incisive, but some combination of both to stop that circulation of the ball without any incision and this complete cutting in half of the team and that front four basically not being able to find any space or any good service on the ball. I don't mind whether it is either a 4-3-3 with a three-man midfield that could actually maybe dominate in that area. I also don't mind two holders, even if it is Henderson and Rice, so long as you then have a more creative presence, which Mason Mount isn't in that 10 position. Again, I repeat, none of these systems will work if that ball isn't progressed through to these players. In terms of starters, yes, Trent would be interesting, probably not going to happen. Any of Maddison, Grealish or Foden might be fun. Surely we will get one, maybe we'll get two of those guys coming in. But I reiterate my point, unless it's Maradona in 1986, let's not assume that one player makes a difference if the strategy is still a little bit iffy. I think England can win. I think England should win. But I said exactly the same things against the United States and they didn't produce on the pitch. And the US were very good value for their point. In fact, it could have been worse at some stages in the game. Let me know what you think in the comments. System and personnel would be nice. You can give me your 11. If you want to dramatically shout and exaggerate like lots of the internet does, you can do, but it's a bit crap really, isn't it? Apologies if the mood is a bit down on this one. I am optimistic, I promise, but I just wasn't really that impressed against the USA. And if you want to see a little bit more of me not being impressed, why don't you click up here and you can see my review of that previous game. Hopefully, the next one will be a little bit more upbeat.